to tell you about the best hire I've made this year. It works 3 shifts a day. It never calls in sick. It costs me almost nothing. And its entire job is just one thing, my email. In this episode, it's going to be all about how I built an AI email agent that triages my inbox 3 times a day. It's also going to be about why the design is actually more about trust and not the technology. And I'm also going to show you how you can build the same thing over the weekend. I'm going to give you every file that I use. So let me describe to you an inbox, and you tell me if this sounds familiar to you. You get like 6 receipts from 6 different vendors that need to get filed by what business they belong to, because at tax time, your accountant doesn't care that it landed in your personal Gmail. She cares whether it was a business expense or which business it was from. If you have multiple businesses, there's probably also client threads that you can't drop, vendor decisions that you need to be copied on, or that you need to send to or reply to. There's probably, if you're a creator, there's probably partnership pitches. Some are real, some are not, some are spam, like wearing a suit in a sense. Your wife or your spouse is forwarding you the thing about the house that needs handling like yesterday, or she's forwarding you different shopping things. There's a medical appointment buried under all 4 of your newsletters as well, too, that you read, and some of them that you haven't read in forever. And if you're like most owners that I know, multiply that by like 3 times, because you have 3 different email addresses. I know people that have like 6 email addresses, right? Just from like businesses. And like, I used to have this other account, but I can't close it because it has these other, old accounts on it, and I don't know how to change them. And there's all that stuff, right? And I mean, personally, I have several. I have, I think, 4 main ones that I use all the time. I personally have a client that has 5. There's another one that has 3 different email addresses. And every address is another place to lose something important. Like that's a real thing. And well, as you know, in business or just in life in general, if you don't reply in a certain amount of time, then you might lose an opportunity. Or what happens to me so much is that I don't know how to reply to something, or used to happen to me, that I don't know how to reply to something. And then like, I'll just think about like, I'll reply to it later once I kind of like process it, but then I never process it, right? Because there's other emails and there's other things to do. And then before you know it, there's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks afterwards, I still haven't replied to the one email that's sitting in my inbox, or probably I'm not even looking at it in the inbox anymore. It's like way down there because, well, we've gotten so many more emails. I mean, and the standard advice out there probably is to check your email twice a day, or to have inbox 0. I know plenty of people that said like, I stopped caring about having 0 emails in my inbox, and that's not the most important thing. And it's not the most important thing to have 0 emails in your inbox that you haven't read, because for the same reason that I just said, you have so much stuff in there that it's not valuable to personally be going through each email every day to make sure that your inbox is at 0. It's not. But that in itself is just discipline advice. But discipline doesn't scale, right? Systems scale. And so that's what we're talking about now. So what I got wrong at first when I was trying to build something similar in the past is that I thought that the project was get AI to do all my email. It's not. The project is write down how I make email decisions and write that down so well that someone else could make them for me, the decisions. AI is just someone else, right? The whole system is 3 pieces. There's a rule book, a literal text file that says what to do with every type of email, right? Like there's Gmail labels, there's folders, and they look like folders, but they're technically just like labels. And there's a scheduled task in Claude that runs at 8 for me, 8 a.m., at noon, and at 4 p.m. It reads the rule book, processes the inbox, and writes me a digest called Here's What You Should Know. The rulebook itself is the asset. Listen to how a rule gets made. Okay, so listen to how a rule gets made. The agent hits an email it's never seen, says there's a meta ads receipt with no campaign name on it. It doesn't guess. It leaves it in my inbox. and it asks me in the digest, which business is this? I answer once, that's MSW. And so then it writes that information into the rule book as a permanent rule. It never asks again. Now, what's crazy is that in the example of the Facebook ads receipt, I manage 4 different accounts with Facebook ads, where my agency does. And so those type of receipts or copies of the receipts come into my inbox all the time. So I will say, like, one of the caveats is that I know this, right? You probably know this, something similar where, like, oh, I have 4 Gmail receipts because I have 4 different accounts, and it's just going to make a rule to put the Gmail into the one thing. It's like, well, no, because you know that. And so there is a small aspect of, like, when I replied to that, like, well, that's MSW. I would say, like, but I need you to ask me at least 3 more times, because there are 3 different accounts, 4 different accounts, 5 different accounts that come from the Facebook ads and that there are receipts, and it's not always MSW. And so then the system will say, got it. I'll check in with you a couple more times. But if I see in the line description within the receipt that says MSW, then I can file it MSW, right? Yes, correct. And that's it. That's the training. Week 1, it's asked about everything. It was basically an intern shadowing me. But by week 3, it handles like 90% silently and only brings me the actual decisions. I didn't train a model. I wrote an operations manual, 1 question at a time. And this is the part that I love. That if, like, AI disappeared tomorrow for whatever reason, I could hand that rule book to a human assistant and they'd be productive from day 1. Because it's exactly what it would need. Luckily, right now we have AI. The system is the documentation. Every system is the documentation. Ops people knew that already. Now, the question everybody asks, you let AI loose on your email? Your email has your whole life in it. And my answer to that is I do, because of 4 rules that are non-negotiable. And I made sure that they were written at the top of the rule book where it reads them every single time that it runs. It never deletes. Archiving means remove from my main inbox. Nothing is ever destroyed. It never sends. It drafts replies in my voice, and they're good. But every single one sits in my drafts folder until I read it and I hit send. I'm the human in the loop on anything that leaves the building. It never touches settings, no forwarding changes, no filters, nothing. And it never guesses. Ambiguity goes in the digest as a question, not an action. So run the worst case scenario on that. An email stays in my inbox. That's like the catastrophic failure mode. Like, there's an extra email in my inbox. And it has happened a couple of times where I go in, it's like, hey, there's an email that I have sitting there that I haven't seen you reply back on or make me a draft on or archived it. And sometimes, like the other day, there was one, and it was like someone was pitching something about a board position, and I told her that. It's like, hey, I told the system that. I was like, hey, it's an email about a board position. Like, I don't know that I am interested in that, but I'm not interested in that. And I don't know if it's real or not. But again, you didn't draft a draft for me. And so I'm just wondering, like, what it is. It actually came back and it said, I'm not finding it. So what ended up happening, it was like a thread within a thread within a thread, in a sense, and it wasn't picking it up. And so we solved it finally. It did make a draft for me, and then it made a new rule about that, about like how to find threads between threads and between threads. And now it's a thing that we can handle from now on as far as that. And I'm sure at this point there's still plenty of other situations that might happen that it hasn't built a rule for, and we'll handle it at that point. But it's no longer like there's 1,000 emails in my email. So I'll take it. You don't trust AI by hoping it behaves. You design a box where misbehavior is impossible, and then let it earn scope over time. That principle applies way beyond email, by the way. Like, that's how you would treat any new employee in a sense. So let me give you a few examples from this morning, right? The system filed an ad receipt to the right company. It's a small thing, but like that way it's taken care of now and it's just a clean look during tax time versus like having to do this whole project, right? Like we have a label folder for like 2026 tax receipts, and I have one for each company, and I have one for our personal as well too. So like sometimes my wife sends me emails or forwards for receipts and whatnot, and it just files it in there. So my wife and I closed the property as well, and so the agent filed a whole deal thread flagged under your transaction is funded and pulled out the fine print that I usually just skim past and gave me like a little report, right? Like no lender escrow means nobody mails you the tax bill. So check the county site in October. That detail alone could have cost me a penalty, right? Like if I don't check that later on. And it also made a calendar notification for me in October to check on the county site uh, about any type of taxes that might be coming up. And you might say like, but they usually send a notification for that. Like, sure, great. I hope they do, and that way it'll be like a double check, a triple check. But I don't want to get into a situation where like in January or something, then it's like, hey, well, you never did this, and it's like, whoa, I totally forgot about that. I never made a note of that. I didn't even know about that, because in life, like I didn't know about that is not a good excuse. It's just not. There was a retail chain about wanting to carry our products for one of the companies for MSW, and they have 86 stores. So the agent left that email in my inbox. It flagged it as a real revenue opportunity, and it had a reply drafted in my voice asking the two qualifying questions I would have asked. I've reviewed it, sent it, done. That's a lead that didn't sit for 3 days because I was heads down on something else. I've had this situation before where like something like that came up, and maybe it took me a while, or maybe I didn't even check my email for like 2 or 3 days or whatever. And then I was kind of like, I felt like scrambled, and like I just kind of put something together. And anyone else would have told you like, you should have just replied like, hey, thank you so much. Maybe ask a couple qualifying questions just to like buy yourself time. But like that didn't happen before, and that's what's happening now. And it also created a little draft because it looked into my drive files about my old, I guess, quotes that I'd done for other companies on this. And it kind of created a document to also send for them that I had to approve. In this case, I didn't approve that one because I wanted to learn more first, but that's basically how that worked out. And so I'm very thankful for that part of it. And so like the multiple inbox problem, like having so many different accounts kind of deal, or even just 2 or 3 or 4, we solved it by using a plain old like Gmail forwarding. So every email address that I use, that I carry, forwards a copy into one like hub inbox. So like my main inbox that I'm using. And so the original accounts, they stay untouched. Nothing moves. Nothing gets deleted. Nobody has to change their habits. The agent works the one hub, one inbox, one rule book, like one digest. And technically this is kind of important because it won't, or at least at this point, Cloud won't do a situation where like it logs into one account, does what it needs to do, and then logs out, logs into another account. Like it doesn't do that yet. And if it does do that and one of you guys knows how to do that, then let me know, because I wouldn't change this system because this one already works and I'm not going to mess with it. But there's plenty of other situations where a system that needs like to log in and log out, especially as like an agency that works with multiple companies, needs to do that, but like it doesn't. I haven't figured that part out yet, and I don't know if it does. Like the solution is always like, how do you compile things into one? And that's what we did with the email. So here's what I did, because like every owner who's seen my digest has asked for this. I packaged the exact same system, my rulebook template with the guardrails baked in, the schedule task prompt word for word, and the setup checklist, including the multi-account forwarded piece. It's free. The link will be in the show notes below. It rides along with my newsletter. If you'd rather not like do it yourself, I'll build it for you. Single inbox or the full multi-account setup with receipts, auto save into Drive for your accountant, task manager, integration, like the works. Details, same thing, same in the link. Last thought. Email is nobody's business, right? Like no one started a business so they can like file away receipts. Like no one has that business. Or maybe if they do, then that's awesome. But email is like the front door to your operations, right? Like every client, every dollar, like every obligation walks through your email, which makes email like the single highest leverage thing to systemize first. And it's also like the best training ground for a skill that you're going to need everywhere in the next few years, which is writing down how you decide things so that something else or someone else, AI or human, can decide them for you. So start with the inbox. Takes an afternoon. Files are in the show notes. See you in the next one.